Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Raising the Bar in Gene Therapy with Science and Structure. I'm Heather Masaccio, your host from Cell and Gene. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have a question for our speakers or wish to share any thoughts of your own, go ahead and submit it through the Q&A box on your screen. If you encounter any problems with the stream today, please try refreshing your browser first. If that problem persists, go ahead and use that Q&A tool to submit a question, and I'll help get you back on track. This event will be available on demand. You'll receive a link via email as soon as it's available. Now, I'd like to welcome our speakers. We have Ane Quesada, PhD, Senior Scientist in the MSAT Department at Viralgen, and Joschka Buyel, PhD, Principal Product Scientist with QbDVision. Welcome to Ane to get us started. Ane?
Thank you for the presentation. So I will go a little bit on what we will be showing in this webinar today. So we will be showing how Viralgen, with the help of QbDVision as a digitization tool, we were able to cut the onboarding of our sponsor from 6 to 12 months to just 3 months by combining all the data for a platform process with the digital CMC backbone that QbDVision provides. So in this webinar, we will be showing how a unified digital platform like QbDVision enabled the rapid onboarding and commercial readiness for our sponsor, how we were able to standardize data, templates, and workflows to be more efficient, how we structure the data to improve transparency and confidence, and how we can scale this model for future gene therapy tech transfers for future sponsors and that are moving to commercial readiness. And now I hand it over to Joschka that will be presenting the QbDVision part of the webinar.
Thank you, Ane, for the nice introduction into the topic. First of all, I would like to introduce QbDVision as the first digital CMC platform for both the pharma, biotech, and the CDMO world. QbDVision is a structured cloud-based platform designed to empower teams with unified knowledge of their product and manufacturing processes while automating key workflows throughout the entire product lifecycle journey. We started in 2017. Now we have a global customer base across the US, EU, and Asia. We are working with 6 of the top 50 pharma companies across the globe, and we have offices with strong networks in the US and the EU. And to date, we have 15 validated releases of our software. So with that, I would like to jump into the topic. What stands in the way of fast and efficient transfers today? The first one is long onboarding period. The delay to clinic and the reduced competitiveness of programs that come along with prolonged transfer times are the biggest risk for our clients. And we think that the main reason for that is the disconnected data. So the use of spreadsheet and templates and PDFs, documents that we're using that introduce a high rework and risk of errors and inconsistent outcomes into the way we do tech transfer today. The main reason for that is the lack of a single source of truth. So we have a misalignment, we have wasted review cycles and compliance risks that come along with that because we have so many different documents that we need to update at the same time, and each of them bears the risk of introducing mistakes. These documents also have individual version controls. We have this version control problem as well that introduces another layer of compliance risk, because once you introduce a change, all these documents have to version individually, and that, of course, leads to a heavy manual review and coordination burden to handle all the updates of these documents. So the high cost and the resource-intensive work on all these documents are also often the reason for delays of transfers. And that, of course, contradicts the ambitious timelines that most of our customers have when they transfer processes from A to B or to a CDMO in our case here. So there's a high risk of batch failure, regulatory risk, business risk, of course, that is associated for both the sponsor as well as the CDMO. and the quality risk if you rush through these transfers too quickly. So we can be that system that helps you to standardize this. The sponsor brings the product, right, and maybe also the first process information that they have from smaller scales. The CDMO brings the platform information. QbDVision then brings the structure that allows both sides to reuse, adjust, and align their knowledge, cutting time, risk, and efforts across the entire transfer. In the case of Viralgen, they have acquired licenses for QbDVision in 2022, mainly to increase their operational efficiency, streamline sponsor CDMO interaction for technology transfers by creating that single source of truth for the AAV platform. So in their case, they have defined the platform at various scales that they offer so that each customer can come in and select the scale that they want to manufacture at, and they enable real-time information sharing out of one single source of truth with reduced document, meeting, and SME dependencies, and at the same time, proactively identifying transfer gaps and risks early so that you don't waste time on writing documents or reinventing the wheel each time you do a transfer, but you focus on the topics that really matter. So make this transfer successful in the end. So how do we do that? Once you have defined your platform for various products and processes and scales in our system, you can leverage this existing knowledge from past projects, and you can continuously grow the platform as a knowledge base for all new molecules coming in from various customers. You can then use the customer information that usually comes in as documents, and as a first step, you're going to digitize all these documents and transfer them into a structured data set in our system. So you get rid of all the document-centric information that they provide, and then combine this information to advance. Over time, more customers will come and start manufacturing and filing as well this manufacturing process with the agencies at some point. So you need to provide a frozen snapshot of all the active filings in one place, but at the same time, you need to have a balance between compliance and innovation. So Viralgen will still need to be able to maintain their platform and update that and bring in new information from their development function. In this case, is Asclepios Bioscience, where they bring in new information, the latest cutting edge technology into their platform, while other clients are still manufacturing with older versions or their current versions that they had filed with. So in the end, you have this balance of innovation without compliance risk. But at the same time, as also new clients coming in, leverage the latest version of the platform whenever they start manufacturing with Viralgen. So projects begin with the most advanced process from process development. We have this reduced risk of deviation and batch failure because we're leveraging all the previous information that is available for all clients, and that saves time and both costs. And we have that frozen snapshot for active filings with always the option to update at any time. For example, if development comes up with a 20% yield increase, you might want to leverage that, right? And take the route to make adjustments or refile that information to make sure you leverage the latest version of the platform as well. So in the end, this will allow you to move faster into execution with full confidence in the information that our system holds. So what are the building blocks of digital CMC execution beyond the classical process and product definition and the risk assessment that our system provides? I would like to walk you through some of the features that we think are beneficial or essential to accelerate tech transfer even more. The first part is access and permissions. We have a clear separation of information by customer access rights to enable that we can share knowledge from the platform, and at the same time, IP remains protected so that customers have only specific access to specific projects, and also SMEs, for example, from Viralgen, only have access to specific projects that they're working on. This enables, in the end, collaboration on projects across all the different modalities that they're working on with full confidentiality. The second piece is a gap assessment. So the ability to compare, for example, the product-specific process versus the platform baseline that we started with. You're able to identify differences early on. You can align where possible. At the same time, you're providing an objective starting point for tech transfer discussions because you're reusing transfers that you have already done. So you have this knowledge base of previous transfers. You're not starting from scratch, especially if you're going across scales that you already know or devices that you already know, for example, a bioreactor that you have already transferred from. And then you can risk assess these gaps and mitigate them rapidly to ingest and start manufacturing faster. So this is a full-fledged gap assessment, a risk assessment for gaps that our system provides. Another feature that I would like to point out here is calculated values. So in our system, we have functions and also constants that you can use. And then all values that our system provides can be used to calculate from across all the records that we have. And this in the end enables you to define a general process definition that is, for example, independent of scales, and then start maintaining multiple processes in different versions and scales, and then automatically scale up and down. You can also ensure consistency across these processes by propagating values through calculations. For an example, you have a flow rate in a unit operation that appears 20 times across this unit operation. You can use calculated values to propagate this value and make sure that whenever you update one of them, all the other ones are updated accordingly to ensure that you're compliant with the change that you want to introduce without having to manually introduce that change in multiple locations. The most important piece, of course, is approval and audit trail to trust the information that you're putting in. So we have full trust into calculations because they're approved and audit trailed. And that is, of course, way better than what an Excel experience could do for you when you have to manually review each Excel sheet that you do a calculation with before you introduce it into a process description or a batch rec or whatever you have. In the end, it all comes down to that single source of truth. We have that centralized system with validated data model that ensures that every update is approved once and only in one location, and then automatically reflected across process definitions that you have, or risk assessment or control strategies, or the calculated values that I just pointed out. So how do we do that? In the end, we're realizing this with governance and approvals. We have integrated approval workflows to ensure that only validated, latest approved information is used from our system to be fully compliant with regulatory and quality standards built in. This reduces, of course, the chance of introducing errors or using outdated and unapproved information, because you have that switch in our system that only gives you the latest approved information whenever you generate an outcome. And we have that switch for all the outputs that we generate, as well as all the views in our system that you can view information with. And that gives you this high level of trust into the information that the system provides and all the outputs it generates. So revisiting the problem that I stated at the beginning of that each tech transfer has, I want to hand it over to Ane Quesada to hear more about how the key points of minimizing friction, enable collaboration, and gaining that speed and trust with clients have been minimized or realized using our system and helping Viralgen to get it done so quickly. Thank you for listening, and with that, I hand it over to Ane.
Thank you, Joschka. So now we will move into the case study on how in Viralgen we were able to cut timelines from 6 to 12 months of onboarding to just 3 months using our platform data with the QbDVision. So first, a bit about Viralgen. So we are a CDMO for the production of recombinant AAVs. We were founded in 2017 as a joint venture between Asclepios Biopharmaceuticals and Columbus Venture Partners. And in 2020, we were acquired, both AskBio and us, Viralgen, were acquired by Bayer. We currently have a little bit over 430 employees, and we are based in the north of Spain in San Sebastian. So we have two facilities, Viralgen Clinical Operations Facility that was opened in August 2018 and received the GMP certificate in 2019. That has 4 independent suites for GMP production of 250 liters and 500 liters recombinant AAVs. And we have also our commercial operations facility that was open in June 2021 and received the commercial GMP certification in December 2022. And we have 3 independent suites within each of the 3 modules, and we can produce recombinant AAV, GMP, 250 liters, 500, and up to 2,000 liters. So in Viralgen, we rely on a recombinant AAV production platform technology. We have worked with more than 60 global sponsors. We have produced more than 1,500 batches up to date, and we have received more than 40 clinical trial authorizations for the products that we have produced at Viralgen for our sponsors. So in Viralgen, we have the AVA platform for recombinant AAV production that delivers consistent outcomes for our sponsors. So we rely on our Pro10 cell line for the master cell bank. We use the same raw materials, facilities, equipments, operational parameters, and in process panels to deliver these consistent outcomes with our production process. So, as I've mentioned before, we have produced more than 1,500 batches with our production platform, with more than 30 AAV serotypes, and we have had a 100% AMV success rate for our clients. So moving on to the case study that I'm going to present, here is an introduction of the quality by design approach for PPQ readiness that we have been applying at Viralgen. So what we have here is an outline of the work. And what I want to focus on is that first, we have all this platform information, both the product and the process, already compiled into QbDVision that can get updated with the product-specific information once we get the onboarding of the client. And we have all this platform knowledge, control strategy already compiled and ready to be leveraged for each specific project. So first, we would start with the quality target product profile for this specific product. We would work with the sponsor, implementing the product knowledge that they have, risk assessing the quality attributes to get the critical quality attributes list that we would then feed into the process FMEA with all the knowledge from the Viralgen platform to evaluate all the process parameters, to evaluate the criticity of all the process parameters that we later will study in the process characterization to define the design space and the draft control strategy for the process performance qualification batches. And after this process performance qualification work, we will define the final control strategy and work in this life cycle management of the commercial production process. So prior to the workshops that we did with the client, we first had all this information of the platform process already compiled into QbDVision. So what we had to do was to update the platform process that was already in QbDVision with the product-specific manufacturing process. And once we had this updated into the platform, we could directly generate also the small-scale model process description directly from the at scale, in this case, 500-liter process description of the product-specific manufacturing process. A pre-work that we had already done also and that we had compiled into QbDVision was a platform CQA risk assessment. So with the help of, with a collaboration with Bayer and Viralgen, we generated a knowledge-based CQA risk assessment for AVs that was compiled into QbDVision that we could later leverage and use for product-specific CQA risk assessments. So we had 2 workshops with the sponsor. The first one was just a 3-day workshop in which we reviewed all this knowledge, all this information that was already gathered in this platform CQA risk assessment, to include all the knowledge provided by the sponsor on their specific product and with their product-specific attributes, to update this platform CQA risk assessment and generate a product-specific CQA risk assessment. So this was just a 3-day workshop in which we were able to generate a product-specific CQA risk assessment. Then we have a second workshop in which we generated the process FMA. So first we had to agree with the client on a risk management plan to later work on the process FMA. Together with the sponsor, we reviewed and finalized this risk management plan. And once it was reviewed by them and internally by us and approved, it got updated in QbDVision. And with that, all the information and that we already have in the process of the copy of the process platform process FMA was updated directly and linked directly to their product-specific CQA risk assessment. So we had this second workshop for the generation of the product-specific process FMA. This was a 1-week workshop in which we worked together with the sponsor on reviewing all the process parameters of their product-specific process, reviewed all the information that we had already compiled into QbDVision that directly linked to the reviewed CQA risk assessment. We had already compiled all the relevant data from our platform on potential failure impact, occurrence, and also the control strategy of the process. So we could review in a very efficient manner the whole process, all the information that they needed to be able to get an updated product-specific process FMA. So by the end of the week, on just 1 week, we could have a list of potential critical process parameters and potential key process parameters that could be exported and reviewed both internally and by the sponsor. And we also got a list of actions to feed the process characterization scope and to be able to update also the control strategy. So just in 2 weeks, 1 week for the CQA risk, less than 1 week for the CQA risk assessment, and 1 week for the process FMA, we were able to tailor to their specific product all this information that we had already compiled in QbDVision. Once we go through the process characterization work, we will be able, with all the knowledge generated in the process characterization, we will be able to update the process FMA and have all this information linked and compiled in just one single source. So what really we could provide to our client was a single source of truth. So we were able to share information in real time in a single place. So while we were doing the workshop, we were working with the client and updating all this information in QbDVision. This information could be seen by the rest of the SMAs working in the project in real time. We had all this information compiled in a single place. both the information provided by the client of their specific product and all the platform information that was used for the generation of this work. We eliminated a lot of paperwork. What Joschka mentioned, all these documents that all this information when it's in different documents that can lead to mistakes or losing information, or so having everything in a single place really made all these workshops at these meetings really, really effective. And ultimately, what we could provide to the client was an accelerated commercial manufacturing readiness, using all the knowledge that we already have in Viralgen, using a tool that really helped us leverage all this information.
Okay, very good. I'm going to pop back on. I'm going to say thank you so much for the presentations from both of our presenters. And now I believe it's time to get to our audience Q&A. Just a reminder, if you have not submitted a question and you want to do so, you can do so now. I'm going to bring back our presenters. And I am going to get to our first audience question. And that question is asking, Viralgen reduced onboarding time from 12 months to 3 months. What would you say were the top 2 contributors to this acceleration? I think this one's for you, Ane.
Yeah. So I would say there were like 2 main pillars. So first was all the work that we had already performed prior to starting the work with the sponsor on the platform CQA risk assessment and the platform process FMEA that gather all the knowledge on the production process that we have, or all the batches that we have manufactured at Viralgen. That's one side. And the other side is the use of this tool that really helped us work really efficiently with the client, and internally having all this information in a single place. And that also helped us implement changes and agreed changes in real time with the client, having all this information linked in one single place. So this really helped cut the timeline and be really efficient in this work, both internally and with the sponsor.
Okay, very good. And this question is also asking, what are the costs of initial investment? And I think this is for you as well.
Yes, so there was, as I talked before, there was a lot of prior work involving several departments and SMEs to generate this platform CQA risk assessment and platform process FMEA. But nevertheless, this effort, even if, of course, the process is, we are manufacturing more batches, so we're generating knowledge constantly and needs to be updated. All this work needs to be updated. Nevertheless, this effort needs to be done once and can be leveraged for many projects and many clients. So even if there is an initial cost of work that needs to be done, the benefit later, I think it's really worth it.
Very good. Thank you so much. Now, this next audience question is asking, in your experience, what distinguishes organizations that become successful digital adopters versus those that struggle or slow down? Who can help with this one? I think this might be for you, Joschka.
I can take that. Yeah, sure. Excellent question. I mean, what we see with our clients, that in the end, it comes down to commitment, I would say, right? It needs to happen on all levels of the organizations, not bottom up or top down. All parts need to contribute, basically. There needs to be a clear vision and a plan to get there, and then it needs to be executed, right? So I think we see a lot of commitment in certain departments or certain areas of a company, but usually they're the ones that are very successful. They have a global rollout plan and they have the proper resources to get it done. Another thing is, for me, also the way you think about the manufacturing process or the CMC space. I think for many people, it's still very document-centric. Like they think in, this is my process definition or this is my FMEA, right? But in the end, it's one data set that you leverage to generate all these different outputs. And I think once that clicks for people, then the whole digital adoption of these tools like QbDVision is way easier in an organization, and you can see the benefits easier.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Now back to our audience questions, and this question is asking, you noted 75% faster onboarding. How much of that is driven by standardization versus collaboration versus tooling? Who can help with this one?
This one's for me. Yeah, so I would say that 50% was driven by the standardization of the work. We had all this work compiled in one place. We had a single a way of working and of generating the documentation really standardized. So that really helped. And I would say the other 25% using this tool that helped us first standardize this work and maintain organized information, everything updated and aligned, and also helped us maintain all these changes throughout all the changes that we were implemented with the client and internally throughout the information. Yeah. Sorry.
Very good. No, that's good. Thank you so much, Ane. We'll head back to our audience questions. And this one is asking, do you believe digitization will become a competitive differentiator between CDMOs or eventually a regulatory expectation? Is this one for you, Joschka?
Yeah, I can take that. Perfect. So I think it already is a differentiator, right? For Viralgen, it definitely is a differentiator. And if you look at the time-saving aspect, it's pretty compelling, right? So it's probably even harder for a CDMO in the future to justify why they're not using a system like ours to do tech transfer, get it done quicker, right? And I think there's also the regulators are also pushing for digitization, right? So we're seeing this big push for digital filings in the future as well, right? And now, I mean, we will go away from this paper-based or paper on glass if we do PDF files, right? And for that, we can be that perfect source for all your CMC information to get it done, right? So that's how I think I would answer this question.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, this audience member is asking, if you look 5 to 10 years ahead, what aspect of CMC do you believe will be completely transformed and which will remain fundamentally human-driven? Who can help with this one?
I would like to take that one as well. But chime in, Ane, if you have anything to add, right? I think that the whole document-centric work that we have been doing for decades will vanish over the next couple of years, right? And we will have these collaborative spaces where we can work in, like our system, for example, and then we have automated workflows with AI agents where the human is going more and more into, let's say, the driver's seat or the monitoring or controlling part of everything, but the rest is mainly executed automatically. And I think what we saw today is a perfect first example of how that transition can look like and what the benefits are that it can bring.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that. And that is our time for today. I want to thank both of our speakers so much for sharing their time and their information. I want to thank the audience for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to Cell and Gene. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.